Chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. Yes, we are back. Episode 243. Yes, we are back, ready to bring you more sports, more fun, the whole kit and caboodle. And without further ado, I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Voldy, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Well, you can probably count me in the minority on this topic. So today I actually had a dentist appointment, and a lot of people don't really like going to the dentist, or at least sitting down and waiting for the dentist to poke and scrape and tell you how you haven't been flossing and all that. Me, on the other hand, I actually don't mind going to the dentist. It's probably the longest I will be off my feet laying back without being interrupted by A, screaming children, or B, being woken up for any particular reason in the middle of the night. And it was quite relaxing. There have been a couple of times where I've actually fallen asleep while the dentist is, going to work on these bad boys. But can say, clean bill of health, just need to keep up with the flossing as usual. So other than that, I am doing fantastic tonight.
And that's impossible!
That's impossible! But no, I mean, that is a good point. You know, you do feel relaxed, getting poked and stuff like that. And, do more of this, do more of that. There's always something wrong. I always feel like there's always something wrong when I go to that place. It's just like I'm trying to do everything I'm supposed to. But I'm glad you feel that way because, I mean, it is somewhat relaxing, just kind of laying back, chilling, whole kit.
Yeah.
So
it's nice when the dentist also has a massage chair to go along with it. Not the one that I'm at right now. My previous dentist had like a little massage pad or whatever on it. Oh, yeah, you bet I fell asleep quite hard.
Oh, that's pretty good. I wish they had that at my place, but
right?
Yeah, we'll keep it as is. Voldy, there's, to be honest, there's really not a whole lot happening with Minnesota sports, but we do have enough for Tater Tot Hot Take. The Minnesota Twins pitchers, oh boy, they are in fact dropping like flies, to say the least. And we are going to be talking about that. Pablo Lopez out. We got Zebby Matthews out as well, 15-day IL. So it just keeps mounting up for the starting pitching, unfortunately. But the Twins are staying afloat for a little bit, so that is helpful in itself. And the Minnesota Vikings, some news out of Eagan, obviously. Josh Oliver signs a 3-year extension with your Minnesota Vikings. Yes. Claps out to him. We'll talk about that. The next person on the list, Voldy, could very well be Joshuamettelus. Apparently there's been some talks about him getting extended last year of his contract, so we'll see how that turns out. But tonight we go to the Temple of Wisdom and Voldy's Virtues. The Wild to Offseason Needs, there are a lot, hence why I am wearing Minnesota Wild colors tonight. Just because, this is a big offseason for them. It's huge. So a lot to talk about with that with you, Voldy. And finally, the saga. We start off with our ARA tonight. Rodgers finally signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about that. No more Minnesota Vikings BS. No more 50-50, the whole deal. I know Mike Silver knows what I'm talking about. We will talk about that later. But the judge right now for the the settlement, $22.8 billion in settlements against the NCAA. We'll talk about that. A lot to be said with that as well. And then there's a lot of holdouts happening right now with minicamps in the NFL. There are a lot of them that are looking for new deals, so we will see what happens when that comes up. And Victorwembanyama, he's a monk now, so is he part of the Temple of Wisdom and Voldy's Virtues? He very well could be. We might not know. We'll see. And then to round things off, the USA men's soccer team, not good. Ever. Probably never will be, but who knows. We will talk about that as well. Really critical of the team, and granted, they've been pretty bad for a long time. So, anyway, we got that, and then obviously shield shoutouts tonight as well. So, Voldy, I say we get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for Tater Tot Hot Take. It's fresh, it's out of the oven. We start off tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with the Minnesota Twins. No, it does not concern those damn Polettes. Although, Voldy, thankfully, I was let in Target Field on Sunday with Papa Callahan. So the Twins did win that game. So claps out to the Twins. They played really well. I was impressed. They did leave some runners on base, but you know what? We're moving past that. It's okay. They won. They still lost the series to those Blue Jays, unfortunately. But there was a lot. They were hitting the ball well. Buxton walked like 3 times. It was impressive. He was fighting in his bats and things like that. But unfortunately, the Minnesota Twins have had some pretty crappy injury news these past few days or week, I should say. Pablo Lopez, the big one, he is out 8 to 12 weeks with a strain in his shoulder, and from what I understand, it is very similar to what happened to Joe Ryne last year. So, unfortunately, the Twins could be without Pablo Lopez for probably months. Unfortunately, he might not even survive the rest of the season. It's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be back. We'll see. It's a grade 2 strain in his right shoulder. And then a promising pitcher that has done very well for the Twins as of late. Unfortunately, Zebby Matthews lands on the 15-day IL right shoulder strain. So all these strains in the shoulders and arms and things like that, not going well for the Minnesota Twins. But
Nope.
the Twins were back in action against the Rangers. Unfortunately, they lost the other night. They are down 1-0 in the bottom of the second. A lot to be said here, Voldy, and I'm not blaming any poll ads, I'm not blaming Falvey or anything like this for all this, all the injuries, not even Rocco for that matter. But my question to you and to the zoners is this: can the Twins survive without Lopez, knowing that he might not be coming back? But with Zebby Matthews going down, it definitely doesn't help things at all. But Voldy, do you think they can hold the line here for the foreseeable future, or quite possibly, do you see them even making a deal to, help bolster this starting pitching rotation? What do you got?
I mean, they're going to have to do a lot, I feel, in this time with the guys that they've got in the rotation. Of course, they did recall Simeons, Wood, Richardson, Joe Ryne in there, of course, with Paddock, Ober, and now you have David Festa, who just got called back up as well. That's your rotation right now, and I don't like it. Joe Ryan's been very solid throughout much of the season. Really can't say much, bad things about Ober. Less is more in that situation. The less you hear about it, the more we're getting out of him. Then you have Chris Paddock. Look, if we can give Chris Paddock some run support, he has been more than solid this season. He's had a couple of bumpy starts here and there, but when he gets, a little bit of help early on, that certainly does help. Then you've got, Woods, Richardson, and then Festa. That's where it starts to get a little bit rocky there in the last couple of spots in the rotation. If you can get, a good start out of those two obviously every fifth day, that's great. But I don't feel comfortable right now with where the rotation is at, especially when you have Pablo out for the, next 2 to 3 months. Some past the All-Star game, and we're looking at quite possibly not even seeing him for the rest of the regular season if everything goes according to plan here for the stretch run for the Twins. I seriously think that a move does need to be made, because after this weekend, we're going to be in mid-June, and with the rotation we have right now, it doesn't give a lot of confidence for me. Gladly, the bullpen has picked up in a couple of different spots here as the season has come along, but I would definitely strongly consider making a move. Now, is that move going to happen? Most likely not, because the Pohlads still control the purse, and when it comes to pitching, they aren't exactly forthcoming on making a move or two.
Well, I mean, you summarized it perfectly with kind of how, if they were going to make a move, they probably wouldn't. But what they'll do, and probably just kind of looking into the foreseeable future, I believe that they're just going to get somebody that's going to be way out of his prime, B really hasn't played as much and whatnot. But he's played, that's the good thing.
Right.
But if I'm the Minnesota Twins, knowing that the Pohlads are probably not going to pony up the money, and or Falvey or whoever else, I think it just kind of comes down to, okay, Joe Ryan, here are the keys to the kingdom here. We need you to be the ace. And you know what? He kind of has been. And he's 7-2. He's 7-2. He's got a 7-2 record, which is very good. He's given up. He's tied for the most home runs given up with all of the pitchers. But you know what? His ERA is at 2.96. That is kind of where you want where you want to be at. And he is a guy that is leading in strikeouts right now with 82. So I think if you're Rocco and the pitching staff, you kind of look at, all right, Joe, we're gonna expect you to be the ace for the foreseeable future, because even if Lopez comes back, I mean, is he going to be, ready to go on his first start? Probably not. I mean, it's going to take time for him. So, but then after that, it comes down to, like you said, Chris Paddock. You know, he's had some good games, but also, you know, if you look at the record, I think it's a little misleading just because his ERA's been somewhat low. And I think it kind of comes down to guys being able to hit the ball, you know, offensively with Buxton, Correa, and all those guys too. So Ober's been okay. I mean, he's not setting the world on fire like he did last year. He had a really good start last year and kind of went from there. But he needs to step up. Like you said, Simeon Woods Richardson's a guy that, you know, kind of has been teetering on the, you know, playing with the Twins and then playing in St. Paul with the Aints. Or excuse me, Saints, I should say. But it just, that's what it kind of comes down to. And I think that if someone else goes down, Voldy, I think they're going to have to make a move. And the thing is it's gonna be a guy that's not gonna be somebody that we're gonna be like, oh man, this is great. You know, this is perfect to, you know, fill in for Lopez and whatnot. And all of a sudden, he just absolutely positively sucks. So I think you got to kind of bank on Zebby Matthews to be back after his stint in the IL. And hopefully he's, you know, feeling good. Like you said, Festa, I think, needs to, you know, step up as well. But, you know what guy's kind of lingering there. And, you know, I don't know if this will go over well, but I bet you know who I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uber guy.
I still have to remind myself that he is on the roster to begin with because literally dude hasn't been on the Twins in like 3 years, it feels like.
He really hasn't. He's played in one game, given up 2 hits, not surprising. 1 earned run, but his ERA is low, 1.69.
Right.
Throw him up there. Why not? But yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I mean, he goes back to being an Uber driver. Okay. Exactly. Enough cheap shots for me. But, you know, maybe a Louis Varland could be, you know, a thing too. I don't know. Right. I'm just throwing out some ideas because we just know what the ultimatum is. It's like, you know, going up to your boss and asking for a day off, literally on the day of. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, It's very similar to that type of thing, where it's like going to the pull ads and being like, hey, can you fork over some money for us to go get a top pitcher? Funny. Nope. Good one. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I think they can kind of stay in the race. I think what they need to do, not focus on winning the division. It seems like the Tigers have really been playing well, as well as, you know, you got Cleveland in there, you got Kansas City as well, you know, in the mix. So if I were the Twins, I would probably more focus on maybe getting a wild card spot at this point, and kind of going from there. But, you know, looking at, you know, these next few games, let's switch to the batting here for a second, then we'll talk Vikings here in a second. But, you know, we've said this on the show for a long time now, Voldy. With Byron Buxton, if Byron Buxton is healthy, the Twins are destined to win a few games, right? And he has done that. He drew like 3 walks on Sunday when I was there. And he leads the team with 10 home runs. He's got 38 RBIs, which leads the team as well. Not talking about specifically, you know, I mean, specifically he's been very good. Larnach has been good. Ty France, I feel like, has been a guy that's been showing up as well. Correa, you know, he has his moments, but he's relatively getting on base as well. But Voldy, what would you say what player would you say has been kind of a surprise to you in your view here with the Minnesota Twins?
You know, obviously from the standpoint of the whole season, I gotta say I got to say, Trevor Larnach has been a real surprise. If you would have told me 2 years ago that Trevor Larnach is going to be a consistent power threat in the Twins lineup, and I would have responded, I thought Trevor Larnach was fighting for a roster spot at this point, and not just given the fact that he has been seeing a lot more consistent time on the field, but he's been in the lineup the whole season for the most part and has contributed a lot of the power for the team in the absence of the likes of Byron Buxton, as I'm getting the tap on the shoulder to quiet down a little bit. I'm sorry. Am I being too loud?
I need to go to the toilet.
Okay. You got to go to yours then.
I need to get over.
Go to your bathroom, buddy.
How can I get over
No,
there?
buddy. You go to the other bathroom.
I don't want to.
In case there's multiple bathrooms, bud.
Your bathroom's unlocked. I know that. Your toilet is. Yeah,
Those two.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I'm kind of busy here.
Yeah,
this is what parenting is like, folks.
Yeah,
Just a reminder.
yeah,
all
that's
right,
true.
all right.
You just gotta.
This is what's happening right now. Yep,
This is happening.
Yep.
This is happening.
And
All
when
right.
nature calls, you got to answer. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good
for
luck,
the
Case.
for the number of times it's happened to me during the show, that's what it is.
Don't worry, I'll
Okay.
Fumble. Well,
Goodness
he's
gracious.
good to go. So there we go. But,
yes,
what were you saying, Voldy?
Trevor Larnach has been the surprise out of all of it. Out of the whole season, I would say, just based off of just him getting the most time and just, I want to throw Brooks Lee in there a little bit, but he's really cooled off as the season's come along too. Cody Clemens has been a really nice pickup for the Twins so far, getting him off waivers and everything. But the real big piece, I think, has been Larnach, just based off the fact that he's been in the lineup most consistently and supplying a lot of the power for the team here too. With, you throw in when Correa's been healthy, Buxton as well. That's been something you could look at as a lot more consistency on the team.
Well, what's interesting too is that Buxton's hitting 265. I mean, I've never seen. He's usually been in that like 220, 230, 240, level with that. But him hitting the ball, being consistent, and staying healthy has done wonders for them. So, one guy that I've been kind of impressed with, and I was impressed with on Sunday, Christian Vasquez. He has really played well in place with Jeffers, him and Jeffers kind of switching off at catcher there. But he hit a home run the other day, and he's got a lot of power. And I think when he connects and when he's hitting the ball, they usually are doing big things. So I would probably say Christian Vasquez for me has been quite impressive. One guy that really just hasn't been what we've expected, and I know he's been dealing with injuries and stuff, is Royce Lewis. Rolls-Royce Lewis has been, kind of, he hasn't been good since he's gotten back. And we need him to start picking up some slack, playing well in games. He pinch hit for Clemens, I think, on Sunday, and I think he's done a good job of coming in when he's needed and obviously playing. I think he was playing third on Sunday. So, Royce, I think, is going to be eased into it, and I think you're going to see his batting percentage go up a little bit and also kind of work with, not really go through the motions, but just kind of get back to the form that we're used to seeing a Royce Lewis. So that's a guy that I would like to see kind of, start getting going here and whatnot. So, I think right now the Twins are still down 2-0. Runner on second for the Rangers. So still early, but, there's a lot of season left, as we all know. So we'll see how it comes. If Lopez can come back, that'd be great. We'll see. Nick Dahlhoff says, due to our bathroom break, he says, live TV, ladies and gentlemen. Haha, exactly.
Gotta love it. Love it, folks.
It's true.
You just can't beat live TV.
Yeah, we've seen it all. And Case wanted to make his presence known, let us know, hey, I'm here. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, it was funny. We enjoyed it.
Yes.
Our next topic is the Minnesota Vikings. I almost said Timberwolves. Don't know why I thought that. But
Timberwolves show the mind.
Yeah, that's true. Kevin Durant to Minnesota, please. Josh Oliver signing a 3-year extension with the Minnesota Vikings, of course. He is probably the best run-blocking tight end in football, I would say.
Yep.
And the Vikings locking him up, especially getting healthy at O-line to, adding him to the mix. But also I felt he was very sneaky last year, Voldy, and catching passes. I thought he had some really nice games with Hawkinson coming back from the ACL injury this past season. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on Josh Oliver getting that 3-year extension with Minnesota?
I definitely think that it is great to have that locked down because we already know we've got Hawkinson. Now we've got Josh Oliver. Even in the absence of Hawkinson in the lineup with him coming back from that injury, of course, it was Oliver getting the bulk of the reps on offense when it came to, that position at the tight end spot. Sure, maybe wasn't getting the necessary number of catches that Hawkinson would, but still enough to be enough of a threat on the field. Had a couple of nice touchdowns in the early goings of the season. Came up clutch on a few catches in the back half of the year too. But really nice to get that locked down because if anything the Vikings are looking at, it's definitely establishing that run early, of course, when you have, you have at least this past season, you had Akers, you have, Aaron Jones there too. But now getting that settled is going to be positive here for the Vikings to at least get that locked up here for the next couple of years. The one problem that I have is that Josh Oliver is still wearing number 84. That's a different story within itself, and that just needs to be put to an end sooner than later. Josh Oliver, we got to get that 84 off of you. Nothing personal, it's just business.
Son of a mother duck.
We got to get it fixed. Fixed. That's Coach.
We got to.
Son of a mother duck. I agree with you on that with the whole number thing. And granted, hashtag fear the dreads did wear that as well. Still, we want it to be Randy Moss's number, obviously.
Of course. We need it retired.
Yeah, retired. Yeah, we do need to do that. So, the one thing I'll say about this is this makes sense because the Vikings have when you think of this Vikings offense, you think, okay, they pass the ball out, Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, the whole deal. But I think what KOC has kind of realized with this team is that you need a run game to match that as well. Maybe not as much, but have enough to be able to run the ball. Hence why they have an Aaron Jones. Hence why they have Jordan Mason. So that is a big deal for them to bring back Oliver because we've had some pretty good Vikings blocking tight ends / fullbacks in our day, and that being Jim Kleinsasser or a guy like they're kind of more fullback, but
Heath Evans.
You got, we had Tony Richardson.
Who was Dugan? Dugan was one. Duggan?
Yep, Dugan. Yep,
Jeff Dugan. Yeah, Dugan was one. Yeah, and, Jeff Dugan. Yeah.
There's some other guys. We got some, yeah, exactly. We got some guys that we haven't thought of in a long time. But we all know Hawkinson can block somewhat, but not as good as Josh Oliver.
Yeah.
The one thing I think Oliver has struggled with, and I think he did a really good job of this year, is his fumbles. He gets the ball and he gets punched out. But this year he did a really good job in not having that. But I think this is a very good thing for the Vikings to bring him back, especially going alongside O'Neal back with Darrisaw, who did practice, by the way, at minicamp.
Did.
Good to see Christian Darrisaw back out there after his injury. We need him. And, I think it was nice having Cam Robinson filling in, and I thought he did a great job with Darrisaw out, but no one's like Christian Darrisaw, right? Mm-hmm. So it is good to see him back out there as well. Josh Oliver, Voldy, I'll give you the details here on the contract just because I know the zoners are curious as well. It's worth $23.25 million. Okay. It has a max value of $27.5 million, and in total guarantees, $19.9 million. So he's getting a big chunk of change. So good for him. Keep JJ upright. We'll be all right. We'll see.
Yes.
So the next thing I want to ask you, Voldy and the zoners, is who's next in line? Well, a lot of people have been speculating and are pretty much expecting, I would say. One man who has I feel like he's adopted his own show in itself with Tell Us with Metellus. We love 96 Questions with B-Rob. That was probably one of the best shows in all the NFL. I really do believe that. It was so good.
Definitely.
I mean, if you watch the who on this team would you not want to date your sister? Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen that, you need to see it. And I'm talking to you.
Life of its own.
Yep, and we're talking to you, Stefan Diggs, and guess what? Yeah. It's proven to be very, very true. But that's a whole nother thing. But Tell Us with Metellus, which has been kind of more of a social media-esque type of thing. It was kind of like you'd get it on the app with 96 questions. Anyway, Josh Metellus, I think, is due for another extension as well. He's waiting for one, but he is out at minicamp. He didn't really show up to the first OTAs or however that is and whatnot, which, I don't think is a huge deal. But I think bringing back Josh Metellus, and especially now that the Vikings have, a chunk of cap space, which helps as well. So I think it's pretty obvious, but I think Josh Metellus is going to be back with the purple again. He's probably going to be getting a new contract, I would assume, before training camp. But Voldy, would you agree with the fans and the reporters and everything that Josh Metellus will probably be getting his extension here relatively soon?
I think so. I just see it coming here, especially now as we hit into minicamp and obviously the first few practices really start to line things up. We've seen nothing but Josh Metellus blossom under the defense of Brian Flores, given the fact that he has really just come out of nowhere and just become the Swiss Army knife of that defense with playing every single position and then some to be a real X factor on the field. And he has certainly proven his worth since really coming out of nowhere on this team for B-Flow's defense. And I could definitely see that extension looking pretty nice, that both sides will be happy by the end of it.
Like you said, Swiss Army knife. You need that type of player on your team, and especially in the Flores defense as well. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I like about Josh Metellus is he has kind of evolved himself into a leader on this team, and I think starting off, he was a 6th-round pick from Michigan. And you think, okay, special teams, and, maybe he's in there for special, packages. And then they get rid of Zim. They bring in, B-Flow, Ed Donatel, unfortunately. But that didn't work out. He goes into this B-Flow defense, and all of a sudden he's everywhere. He's playing linebacker. He played slot corner at one point. He's probably as an edge rusher or something. I mean, he played all those positions. They have that list. I wish I had that still. But
he was playing all those positions. He was filling the water bottles. He was taping ankles. He was cutting checks, straight cash only. I mean, if anything that we've seen out of the B-Flow defense, and at least the Belichick style defense too, is that you get these guys that play these multiple positions and are adaptable in every single spot, whether size be included or not. If you go out there and you're just a football player, they're going to find a spot for you, and that's what Metellus has done since he's been a part of the Vikings for sure.
So I think this deal's probably coming pretty soon. It wouldn't surprise me if it was just before training camp. I don't think it will be during training camp, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be before they have to report and whatnot. So I think that this will probably get done. If it doesn't get done, then it kind of shows like maybe they're wanting to move on from there. So, but we'll see. I mean, it comes down to I think the Vikings are definitely working with his agent, and it seems like he's not worried about it. Then none of us should be worried about it. I think Josh Metellus will be getting his deal here soon. So that's kind of the big news. Vikings are in minicamp. Not too much to report. Obviously, speculation. Oh, McCarthy threw a pick or this or that. And it's just like, you know what, guys? We haven't even played week 1 yet. Okay, yep. He's coming off an injury. Let's just wait. So we'll see what happens come week 1 with him. So, all right, that'll do it for Hot Take this week. We have Voldy's Virtues, and I think someone is very excited for Voldy's Virtues tonight. We're talking about those Minnesota Wild. Voldy is going to enlighten us on what they need to do this offseason. What do they need to do to, one, get out of the frickin' first round. That's one thing they can do. And then who can they target? Are they gonna extend, Kaprizov? Are they going to trade Rossi? There has been a lot of speculation concerning marcorossi. So we will see what Voldy has to say. So let's head to the Temple of Wisdom for Voldy's Virtues.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's Virtues.
All right, we are in the Temple of Wisdom. Not only us, but also Tate as well. He is ready to listen to what Voldy has to say. So, Voldy, please enlighten us with your knowledge.
Of course, the big thing coming into the offseason for the Minnesota Wild are concerns top to bottom in a few different notable areas. After another first-round playoff exit, now being the 8th time in the last 10 years, longest stretch by any team in the NHL, the Minnesota Wild once again are in a position to make much-needed moves to push this team into the future of what could be a be-all, end-all for GM Bill Guerin, ahead of not only more open salary cap, $21.5 million to be exact, but also the return of NHL players to the Winter Olympics, which Bill Guerin is the general manager for Team USA, believe it or not. So he's the one that's going to be controlling who makes it and who doesn't, and also will be a major factor in deciding who will make the Olympic team for Team USA. Now, again, if we saw anything with the Wild's playoff matchup this season with the Vegas Golden Knights, is that scoring beyond the line of Kirillkaprizov, Matt Voldy, and marcorossi was next to nothing. Sure, you got a couple of spot goals on the defensive blue line, but beyond that, there was not much help beyond those guys. And in fact, I think they were almost at double-digit points by the time that we got around to Game 6 before the Wild ultimately fell. And that was a pretty solid stretch for a team that was getting bowed out of the first round. Now, of course, with the production that they got from that top line, you got to look at some of the big concerns for the Wild. And priority number one, re-signing Kirillkaprizov is absolutely priority number one for this offseason. Too many times in the past, we have seen the Wild waste one of their top premier players by not giving them the contracts that they are needed to keep them around, and they leave and become studs elsewhere. Case in point, Marian Gaborik ultimately gets his big money contract, bounces around to a couple teams, but at the end of the day, he still won a Stanley Cup, if not two of them, with the LA Kings. We saw it with Brent Burns. Sure, he's bounced around to a few teams. He's been in the Stanley Cup finals a couple of times as well, but still a premier player, whether been on the blue line or as a forward. But getting Kirill locked up beyond the current contract that he has and for the future is going to be absolutely paramount for the Wild here if they want to be taken considered and taken seriously. Another one to look at, of course, with their young burgeoning players that they do have is Marcorossi. Another interesting piece of their future, and will the team be able to find a way to keep him in a market that is willing to give younger, quote-unquote, proven players top billing? Of course, we've seen some of these guys that have been the second guy to the top star. I'm taking in consideration of in Toronto, Austin Matthews is the big dog over there, but Mitch Marner is the one this offseason that a lot of teams are going to be looking at to make a big splash and possibly add him to their team. I'm looking at it the same way here with Marcorossi to see if the Wild are going to be considered enough to lock him down, or maybe quite possibly part ways with him and see what they can get on a return for their investment. Now, going back to the playoff matchup, needing to bolster the depth on the second and third lines is going to be something that needs to also take consideration, again, to be considered seriously by getting help on those lower lines. Zuccarello is not getting any younger. You've got these younger guys coming up here that are kind of bouncing back and forth from the AHL to the NHL, and they're not getting a lot of, consistent enough time to be great players in the league. And second and third lines have been hurt, to say the least, when it comes to the Wild and not getting a lot of production off those lower lines. Now, another one that was interesting to see here with the offseason for the Wild is re-signing Marcus Johansson. Now, second overall, second stint here with the squad. Johansson was nice to see here for the sake of consistency on those lower lines, the second and third lines. But what else can the Wild do to add on to that? Sure, you bring in a guy here who has been in the lineup. Sure, he'll get you a few goals, every once in a while on top of it. But what's it going to do here for the team to ultimately make that next step? Now, defensively, another topic. Of course, we switch from the forwards to defense. We have to get younger. We have to get stronger. Zeev Buium, coming out of Denver, was a revelation for the Wild here, even in his short stint with the team at the back, last couple of games of the regular season into the NHL, getting with the team. Now, Spurgeon and Brodin have been hurt, to say the least, and also aren't getting any younger. Spurgeon being the team captain, Jonas Brodin also being hurt multiple times here during the regular season. Now, them as the top pair defensively has been, they aren't getting any younger, and defensive prospects for the Wild aren't looking as promising as they have in years past. You've got guys like Jake Middleton that kind of round out the lineup a little bit more on the defensive side, but aren't, there isn't a lot of blow-me-away type names defensively for the Wild as they've seen in years past. The Wild definitely need to take a look defensively in the market that they do have at looking at possibly adding another defenseman, a top four defenseman, if you will, off the market to aid in the production on the blue line and also in the development of a Zeev Buium and also these young guys coming into camp. Now, if you want to, continue to help out this defensive blue line that does need a little bit of more youth on their side, but also production, bringing in another, top flight defenseman could be a good piece to look at. Now, as for the side of goaltending, as we make our way further down the list, for all intents and purposes, it's Gustafson's net with Marc-Andre Fleury retiring. Of course, there have been reports back and forth. Maybe he'll stick around, maybe help out a little bit. But we now have a clear direction of what the future holds in between the pipes for the first time in a long time. I mean, years have gone by. Are we going to stick with the two goalie system? One guy's going to start, the other guy's going to start. It's this guy's net. No, it's this guy's net. No. But now we don't have to keep looking over our shoulder and keep playing the guessing game of who's going to be in net each night. With Marc-Andre Fleury out, that will open up the door not only for Gustafsson to be the full-time starter, which he had a very nice season for the Wild overall, but also finally bringing up some of these younger guys. Jesper Wallstedt has been sitting down with the AHL Iowa Wild for years. Now he can slide up into that backup spot, or maybe you look at a veteran goaltender to bring into the mix and be that backup spot for the team to really have a nice 1-2 combo in between the pipes. Too many times over the years, we've seen the Wild waste these goaltending prospects that they've had, either through going with trades or sitting on them long enough to the point where they don't get enough seasoning in the NHL and ultimately end up falling through the cracks in that regard. So overall, in summary, there are many decisions that still have to be made for the team this offseason, ahead of with the draft also looming ahead. But with all this dead money that they have off the books, the buyouts of Parise and Suter, over $21.5 million, I believe, in total. This is a make or break off season for Bill Guerin, and if this doesn't pan out by making a couple of moves, or maybe looking at what we have on the roster and how do we get the best out of it, or maybe we need to start cutting and running, I would not be surprised if things don't pan out this season, if the team looks to go into a different direction in the future. I don't want that to happen. I love Bill Guerin as a GM. He's definitely, he gets it. He's been there. He's been as the guys say on Spitting Chicklets, he's been a suitcase. He's played for a lot of teams. He's been all over the place. But having him in Minnesota has definitely been a really nice piece, given the fact that he was a former player and definitely gets the lifestyle that NHL guys have had in years, not going back to the days of Chuck Fletcher and just throwing money on the wall and see what happens. But definitely having a guy like Bill Guerin is solid for the team. That definitely needs something to look at for consistency's sake.
Hell yeah!
But sooner or later, something's got to give. If we're not getting our return on investment, I would not be surprised if ownership takes a look and says, we're going to have to let you go. But a lot of things can still happen. Free agency, less than a month away, at least the start of that, with the draft also coming up here in the near future. So a lot of things still in the books here, and the Wild could definitely do a lot of positive things here in the offseason.
Awesome.
That's the hope. I mean, the hope is that they can do something here to get the fan base excited. And I agree with you. I mean, with all the ideas of, bringing in somebody, what are they going to do? They're going to re-sign, Kaprizov, is Billy G going to give him the right deal? Now, it's not just the fans, but I feel like it's a lot of the organization. And it's not, and a lot of it is going to be on Bill Guerin, but I think they're sick and tired of going out there, playing well, and then all of a sudden getting in the playoffs and then just getting outplayed. It's just the teams are better. The Wild have to get to that point. So this is very key for them to go out and get somebody, make a deal, try and keep building this team, building this roster so that teams can't look at you and say, okay, well, we're getting past these guys. The mentality has to change for this team. So I agree with you. I think it's if Billy G can't get this figured out, then they're going to have to go in a different direction because, I mean, and it's tough to navigate. I get it with the contracts and whatnot, but there are no more excuses anymore. So
No.
I couldn't agree with you more. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys up to date. There's going to be a lot of probably moves coming up in the next few weeks. So make sure you check out the Stanley Cup Finals. Florida is up on the Edmonton Oilers 2-1. Our picks are still alive, Voldy. I believe we said Panthers in 6, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
I think that's it. So we will keep an eye on that, and hopefully the Wild makes some big moves here. So well done with Virtues this week, Voldy. We'll see what happens with this Minnesota Wild squad. I really hope that Bill Guerin has a plan here, and hopefully he's going to be executing it. So, all right, ARA tonight we have a big list to go through. One being the wait is finally over. The speculation, the whole deal. Aaron Rodgers finally signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. No more Rodgers to Minnesota BS and everything like that, so we're in the clear. And the NCAA judge signs a $2.8 billion settlement against the NCAA. Just can't get out of their own way. We'll talk about that. And then notable NFL holdouts for minicamps. There are a number of players on that list, including Treyhendrickson, Scary terrymclaurin, and tjwatt. So we'll talk about their situations here. And then, victorwembanyama went to the Temple of Wisdom and came out a monk. So he is... he's out of the Shaolin Temple, and hopefully it'll help with his play this upcoming year. So we'll see. Yes, the U.S. men's soccer team got ripped pretty bad by the former greats of the men's soccer team as well. So we'll talk about that. So, all right, let's get it going with some observed or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, the wait is finally over. After long being suspected of happening, it officially happened, as Aaron Rodgers is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. As a contract was signed on Saturday, Aaron Rodgers, wearing number 8 for the black and yellow of the Steel Town City. That's right, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Now, the veteran quarterback did sign a one-year, $13.65 million contract after passing a physical Saturday morning, $10 million guaranteed, but could be worth up to $19.5 million based on incentives. Of course, now this finally putting all of that to rest, with Aaron Rodgers now set to join the team, of course, with minicamp getting underway. He's held a press conference on Tuesday, now working with DK Metcalf, beyond, of course, the little throwing session they had out in California. Aaron Rodgers now on his third team in his NFL career, of course, starting with the Packers, going to the Jets, and now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, with all that being said, all the hype, all the conversation, and the Rodgers watch that happened this offseason, is it absurd or approved? Will Aaron Rodgers lead the Steelers as the starting quarterback to at least 9 wins this season?
Oh, man, he just loved the headlines, didn't he? He just, he wanted it to be this way. He wanted to just, let it sit, let it manifest. And then we come to find out he got married, apparently. So
apparently.
I guess.
We don't know who. Are we going to find out who he married? Or is she going to step out? Is he going to step out? I'm not talking about Aaron as in he. Who knows?
I don't
It's
know.
2025. Who knows?
I have no idea, but again, this just shows what type of person he is, and he likes the limelight. Now, quick, Voldy, just to put a kibosh on the whole Rodgers to Minnesota thing, I do want to say this. It is quite evident that man wanted to be in Minnesota. And I think this was he wanted to be here bad because he knew this was the last chance that he would have of winning a Super Bowl. Because you look at what we have on the team, and it's awesome. But fact of the matter is, Vikings said no. O'Connell said no. Kwesi said no. The whole organization said, nah, we're good. Now that that's all dead, he signs with the Steelers. We all pretty much knew that was happening at this point because the Vikings made it known that they're not going to pursue any further. But it just shows how much attention he wants to give people. And it's just like, oh, leave me alone. I'll make the decision when I want to, blah, blah, blah. But keep talking about me, Keep talking about me. Keep talking about me. He says he doesn't like the limelight. Well, he's definitely been doing that this whole offseason. So, to answer your question, Voldy, the Steelers had no choice but to sign Aaron Rodgers. They do not have a solid O-line. They gave up a lot of sacks last year. They've brought in DK Metcalf. They got rid of George Pickens. After DK Metcalf, who do they have? I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot from there. And Freiermuth is good. Don't get me wrong. He's very good tight end. But their offensive line is going to be a problem, and especially when he's pretty much on, this is probably his last year for sure. I think this is going to end horribly. So I think he is going to get them to under 9 wins. I think this is the first losing season for Mike Tomlin. You see, this season for Mike Tomlin is very important. If the Steelers don't do something and if they don't go far in the playoffs and, X, Y, and Z, I think the heat's going to be even more hot on him. But if he has the first losing season in his career, I think the noise is going to get even louder, and it's going to turn into just a shit show. I'm just going to say it. I mean, so yep. I think it's going to be under. So I think it's absurd. I don't think he's going to lead them to that. And their defense is okay, but it's aging. It really is. It's starting to age a little bit. Joey Porter Jr. is a good player. I think he'll be there for a while. Minka Fitzpatrick's good, but I don't. They're starting to. Yeah, they ain't getting any younger.
They're old.
So they're getting old.
They're getting old.
So yeah, I'd say absurd, Voldy. I think they're gonna get to 7 or 8. That's all I got for them. And their division is very tough. So that's how I look at it. So Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, I look at the situation as a whole now with Rodgers in the mix. I mean, with him signing at Pittsburgh, I'm not overwhelmed and I'm not underwhelmed. I'm just like, all right, it's finally over. Can we talk about something else other than Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to sign? When's he going to sign? Where is he going to sign at this point? Sure, it's Pittsburgh, and of course, them waiting out for him to make that decision. Very un-Pittsburgh Steelers-like, but maybe that's something that could play into them this season to at least do some things that they haven't customarily done, because when they've kept the status quo, sure, they've had a winning season, but they've also gotten beaten out of the first round more times than not in the last decade for sure. Gee, very much like the Minnesota Wild at this point. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers the Minnesota Wild of the NFL? That's a correlation I thought I'd never say before. Oh, my God. Definitely. That's one way to put it for sure. I see this as a situation of where, I mean, it's not going to really be a learning situation for the backup, because Mason Rudolph, he's been there before. He knows this team. Sure, a different offensive coordinator, in Arthur Smith. That'll be interesting to see how him and Rodgers really come together and at least try to complement each other, if you will. You brought up the receiving core as well, DK Metcalf. They've got this other guy. I know Van Jefferson was in the mix there. Wilson, I think, is like a third-round pick they had last season or whatever. He was a rookie. Can't remember his first name, but I definitely heard it the other day. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Okay, yeah.
You got Freiermuth. You got rid of Najee Harris in the running back core. Be interesting to see what they've got, at least for the receiving side. But if we've seen anything, Aaron Rodgers has been able to make make no names look pretty darn good in a few different areas, at least in the receiving core. So that could be interesting. But then again, that was, pre-blown Achilles and pre-COVID Aaron Rodgers too, on top of that. 9 wins is a bit of a stretch, especially in the division that they are. Cincinnati's coming out strong. Baltimore's coming out strong. Cleveland could come out strong as well and surprise a lot of people. But with that AFC North that they're in, it's going to be a lot of black and blue games. Of course, this could just be for the sake of him getting to play at the Jets and being able to play at Green Bay one more time before calling it a career. I kind of see it as that. 9 wins is a stretch. I'm going to definitely say 8 wins for sure. And unfortunately, a losing season for the Steelers.
What's going to happen, though, once it's all said and done and they're out of the playoffs and whatnot. This is what's going to happen.
You done messed up, Aaron!
You done messed up, Aaron! You wanted all the limelight and everything like that, and what did it get you? Just a terrible end to a career. So, I think that's what's going to happen too. So, it's finally over. That's all that matters. It's finally over. All right, next one, Voldy.
So we head to the world of college athletics, and finally a settlement has been reached between the NCAA and also a lawsuit that will now allow colleges of Division I to start paying their athletes directly. Now, in a case, and that was finally settled, the House versus NCAA settlement, which will end 3 separate federal antitrust lawsuits against the NCAA. The decision was finally made less than a month after schools are beginning to plan on cutting checks to athletes, which will be starting July 1st. Now, this will be a $2.8 billion settlement in back damages over the last 10 years, dating back all the way to 2016 through the present day. Now, each school can pay its athletes up to a certain limit. The annual cap is expected to start at $20.5 million per school for the 2025-2026 season and increase every year during the decade of this decade-long deal. So now Division I schools are going to basically have a salary cap of up to $20.5 million deals. These new payments are in addition to scholarships and other benefits such as NIL deals that the athletes already receive. Now, this will also play things into the effect of course, you reach with NIL contracts and those situations being put out. Now we have basically a salary cap for Division I schools with this settlement now being reached by the NCAA. Now you throw everything into the mix with the NCAA reaching its settlement of the $2.8 billion, a $20.5 million basically salary cap for these schools. Will this, and now colleges being able to pay directly to their athletes, is it absurd or approved? This will further water down college athletics to start to become a more semi-professional league, basically looking at the scope of college football.
Yes, I believe so. Because look, you're paying these athletes, and hey, you get your money. That if that's fine, you guys go and do that. That's okay with me. As long as you're getting paid and being able to be an athlete and make money during that time. That's fine with me. But now these players are getting agents. Now these players are these athletes are now getting deals and are able to promote their likeness and things like that. But let's be honest, these are kids. They're 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and they would want more, right? They want this, they want that, I think they need to come up with an idea of, like performance. Like if they, let's just say, and again, like I'm not saying like, some Joe Schmo who's going to ride the bench for 4 years, 4 or 5 years of eligibility or however that works, isn't going to get paid. What I'm saying is like if they reach a certain point, they get over 1,000 yards, things like that, then they can, get these incentives. And I think they do kind of have that, but I just kind of look at it from the perspective of there are a lot of these athletes getting a lot, and maybe a lot more than they should. So I'm glad that they have a salary cap. That would make more sense. But at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's only going to get higher after next year and things like that. If the salary cap goes up. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it is turning into that. I think it's got my stamp of approval, Voldy, of this turning into a semi-professional league, because now they're just kind of throwing money. They're like, hey, take whatever you want. This is how we're going to do, this whole thing. I mean, it's just going to be straight cash. The question is, who is going to be taking straight cash? That's my question. But there's they're getting a lot of money, these athletes now, and I think they need to kind of come up with a plan to revamp it in order to make it fair for everyone. But at the same time, it's going to be tough to, and especially look into if someone's doing something illegal and, things like that. So, it's got my stamp of approval. I think it's what it's going to be turning into now. And, there's going to be instead of the Big 10, like we said, it's going to be the Big 21 at some point.
Right.
So, Voldy, what do you think?
I see this as starting to see maybe just a little bit more clarification and hopefully a little bit more settlement, pardon the pun there, for the way, money is being distributed to college athletes as a whole. But could this also find its way to kind of make things a lot murkier when it comes to where the money is coming from and how some of these guys at the top are being paid a little bit more than guys at the bottom? But $20.5 million per institution, and thus being raised over a 10-year period, could be something to look at a little bit more, and especially for universities that maybe don't have football, or maybe they don't have basketball, or some of these schools that have more priority in other sports as opposed to others. Like I think of Cornell. Cornell has a great lacrosse program, not exactly known for football, if they even have football. So there's more money going to go towards their lacrosse program than their basketball program. I don't know. But at least now there are some things being settled to the point where it comes to saying, this is what you get. That's what it is. You deal with it and be happy with it at this point. And also these athletes getting money through their NIL deals and everything else, that still continues to be, something that could, make things a little bit more difficult to enjoy college sports as a whole, or even college football at this point, because that's what it always comes back to, is college football. But I like the fact that now this settlement has come through. It's finally slated in. Here's what you're getting. And that's what the number is going to be. So it's got my stamp of approval as a whole. Because now we see, okay, now there's a salary cap. Are we going to start to see unions being formed? Are we going to see further regulations put into place, collective bargaining on top of that too? But for right now, we've got some sort of clarification. Now let's see what the next step is in this world of now paying college athletes.
It's just kind of how we're getting with the times now with college football and colleges in general with all these deals and whatnot. Voldy, as you were when I sent it over to you, guess what? I'm watching the finals right now. Guess who was at the free throw line?
Oh, our MVP.
Yep, I figured that'd be the case. I figured.
Yep.
So,
sounds about right.
Figured I'd share that because it's not surprising at this point. So, right now it is in the first quarter, OKC 31 and the Pacers, 32-24. Chet Holmgren just hit a free throw. So, yeah, that's what we got. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way here. But next one, Voldy.
We head back to the world of the NFL. Of course, this week, numerous teams getting lined up for minicamp, some of them actually starting as of yesterday, but there are a number of high-profile players that will actually be sitting out the first couple of days of training camp, or I should say of minicamp, with the prospect of working out a new contract for the upcoming season and seasons ahead. Most notably do include the Cincinnati Bengals, that being defensive end and the sack king Treyhendrickson, Washington Commanders wide receiver terrymclaurin, Scary Terry, and you also have Pittsburgh Steelers rush man, and that being tjwatt. Those three gentlemen right there sitting out, of course, in the hopes of finding a new deal for the upcoming season and the possible years to come on top of it. But of course, all these players are making an impact for their teams, not only on the field, but as leaders in the locker room and off the field on top of it. But of these guys that we see here, which of these players and their absence do you find that will be most damaging for their team as we head from minicamp into training camp towards the regular season?
Well, I totally forgot that Scary Terry was even looking for a new contract.
Right?
I didn't know his was up. But, I mean, that is pretty much a no-brainer. I think they're going to re-sign him at some point. Him skipping minicamp, I don't think is a huge deal. I think it just kind of comes down to the business side of things. And I think I read something where Dan Quinn. Why did I think Terry Quinn? Why was I thinking that? Dan Quinn said that it comes down to the business side of things and whatnot. And I mean, Scary Terry's going to get a deal because I mean he's been great for Washington. Now looking at the tjwatt situation, that one I wouldn't be as concerned with either, just because he knows Tomlin, and I think Tomlin kind of knows at this point that he's going to get paid. The question is, how long are you for what extension are you going to give tjwatt, because he is 31 now, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I believe so, yes.
So, how many years are you going to give him? Are you going to give him a big contract still? Is he going to be playing at that high level? And I think he will, but that's what their thinking is at this point in time. Now, Treyhendrickson, we've been talking about, for a long time now, and this is just getting worse by the day. And I think this one beats the other two by a lot. I think it's more damaging to the Bengals because, he's saying that they've given up on contract talks. They're saying, no, we're still talking with him. It's a lot of, he's saying this. The Bengals are saying that. Look, is it happening or not? Are you going to trade him or not? You can get a lot of value by trading him. Don't get me wrong, if you're Cincinnati. But are you willing to say, well, wait with the future here and give up literally your best defensive player? They got rid of Pratt, the guy that was their middle linebacker for a while. He signs with the Raiders. Good luck with that. But I think it's more damaging to the Bengals because it's literally getting worse by the day. You keep getting these updates; they're not positive. It seems like he doesn't want to even deal with Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's still hanging on to hope that they can get a deal done with him.
Yep.
I think it's getting to the point where they just need to deal him and try to get some picks out of it, maybe even a player, because I think they're scared of if they trade him, their defense is going to be even worse. And it's kind of looking like that at this point. But I get it from their side, but I also know that he ain't waiting on them anymore. He's kind of through with them. So I'd say Treyhendrickson's the worst out of the three for sure. So I'll go with that. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, each situation does present its own unique circumstance to the team. Of course, tjwatt and the Steelers have been kind of going back and forth the last year plus, I feel like, but kind of a little bit under the radar, behind closed doors kind of conversations. I mean, hearing about Scary Terry and his contract situation kind of sprung up here in the last couple of days, let alone coming into the season. But with what he's been able to do in Washington with all the different quarterbacks, with the regime changes, the coaching changes, the different, he's played through 3 different iterations of one franchise as a whole, and yet he continues to put up numbers. So I think a contract's going to be forthcoming for Terrymclaurin and for Washington, because he is the one guy you can look at and say, this is a guy we need to have on our team for the sake of keeping this team together as a whole. Now, of course, the whole Treyhendrickson situation has not been very kind to Treyhendrickson or Cincinnati, basically since the end of the season, with the season that was very underwhelming for the Bengals, considering the fact that they got off to a very bad start and were unable to, find their way into the playoffs even after a hard charge at the end of the regular season. Very tough for them to look at for the lack of any effort defensively, but you had the guy that led the league in sacks on your team. That's got to do something, at least confidence-wise. And then you throw out ownership kind of throwing him under the bus and saying, look, you should be happy with what you've got and be happy that you even still have a job at this point. Doesn't really instill a lot of confidence. And, of course, conversations have broken down in the months that have followed since comments have taken place from ownership. And I think that one is going to be a real it's going to hurt the team a lot, especially when you've already re-signed Ja'Marr Chase. You re-signed T. Higgins. Good, the offense is taken care of, but the defense certainly hasn't helped a whole lot, given the fact that the Bengals have had to put up 30, 35 points a game in order to compete against not only the league, but also teams within the division as a whole to at least scrape by with some wins. I see the Treyhendrickson situation being a very big distraction for the team as a whole.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we did this for ARA earlier in the offseason. Which of the 3 are probably going to be gone? And I think we both said Hendrickson for sure.
Pretty confident with Hendrickson.
Yeah, it was either, I thought it was either 2, it would definitely be 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3. Yeah. And they definitely decided to go the route of Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. And, now that they're like, well, we're still trying. And it's like, look, guys, you're not getting anywhere with them. Just trade them. So that's kind of how I look at it, too. So we shall see as the weeks go on. So next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of the NBA, and of course, in an off-season that maybe you take time to relax, maybe find a way to hone your craft. Well, Victorwembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs has taken a different sort of vacation. The San Antonio Spurs is in the midst of what is expected to be a 10-day stay at the Shaolin Temple in Sengzhou, China. The temple is a place that welcomes visitors who wish to study meditation, Shaolin Kung Fu, and traditional Chinese medicine, and much more. Now, of course, with Wembanyama being 7'4", he will definitely stand out amongst the other Shaolin monks on top of it. Of course, with it being thrown out, with the season that he did have for the San Antonio Spurs, of course, that being shut down early because of the fact of injuries and what will hopefully be an opportunity for him to be, of course, with being the Rookie of the Year last year and was expected to be a front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year. And now you look at, this is just a very confusing story as a whole, but now you look at it being with him now spending time in China, of course, being with the Shaolin monks. Is it going to be something you look at here? Is it absurd or approved? With Wemby staying at the Shaolin Temple, will that be able to advance his game with him being completely locked in for the season ahead or not?
Well, I do have a question in regards to him going bald. Voldy, you went bald for a brief minute, didn't you? Or no?
I did, yes. Not by choice.
Did you like it or not? Yay,
No.
nay? No.
No, not really. No.
Yeah, so because you have to keep up with,
No.
like, if you want to keep it bald, you have to shave it every day and things like that. It's all a situation.
That's why I haven't gotten a haircut in about a year.
Yeah, hey, that's fine. Because I'm just curious, because I never been bald myself, but it seems to me that Wemby is trying to find certain ways to kind of hone in on his skills, kind of be of clear mind as possible, through meditation, things like that. This isn't a situation where this is a darkness retreat, as we all know, with Rodgers. This is kind of more of a thing where some players are doing things kind of a little bit out of the ordinary to up their game, and they want to try things. And it seems like it's interesting. He's taking a route where he can be clear-minded when he's playing, and using some of those things to incorporate when he's playing basketball. So I think it will. It's got my stamp of approval. I don't see it being it's not like it's a distraction or anything, and whatnot. I think it's more of a situation where it's like, oh, he's trying out some things. He's bald, and whatnot. That's okay. I mean, just is he going to stay bald? I don't know. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. I think he's kind of taking an approach of things that are kind of uncharacteristic, but at the same time, if it helps him, great. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Voldy, Big Ticket, being Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, were talking about it and whatnot. They're like, they had some comments on it, which I thought was interesting as well. But hey, if it helps him, good for him. So stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
We could look back at this as being one of the moments where Victor Wembanyama became an absolute force within the league, as looking at one of the best big men of all time. Or we could look back at it and this being like you had brought up, the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat, and just be a punchline till the end of time. This could definitely help a young player that was definitely kind of looking for some way to hone his craft and find ways to get better in a league that is definitely ever changing and ever evolving. Being 7'4" does help, but if you can't move and you can't be able to improve your game year after year, you're going to get thrown to the wayside. I see this as something that could be beneficial. Don't know how it could be, but hey, if it helps him center himself and find ways to concentrate on his game and training and all that, go for it. Do whatever on top of it. I could see this. It's got my stamp of approval. I feel like this will definitely help him hone in on his craft for the season ahead.
Well, to say the least, too, I don't see where it could be a bad thing. I mean, he's trying out things, kind of weird, but at the same time, you do you, man. So, good luck. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of international soccer after a fourth straight loss for Team USA and the U.S. men's national team for the likes of soccer. Well, some of the longtime greats of the U.S. men's national team spoke outwardly about the unable to perform squad following a 4-0 rout by Switzerland Tuesday night. That was now the longest losing skid since 2007 for the men's national team, just as they're about to head off for the Gold Cup that will be taking place here, as the Americans are set to play Sunday, believe it or not, against Trinidad and Tobago. Now, of course, some of these outspoken players, just a couple of nobodies by the name of Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey. Oh yeah, these two share the goals record for the men's national team, 57 goals apiece. And they have been critical of current regulars not in the struggling roster ahead of the Gold Cup that will be coming up here this time next week. Now, of course, this being said, that Tyler Adams of the U.S. men's national team, not quote as saying, "We don't talk about that internally as a group." Quote, "The noise on the outside is the noise on the outside. I think we need to focus on what we need to do as a group to continue to build." Of course, star players like Christian Pulisic is skipping out the June camp and the Gold Cup in order to rest after playing 120 games overseas and for the country over the past 2 seasons. Now, with some of these star players that are skipping out on playing for Team USA, that is another reason why the men's national team has continued to struggle in recent years. Now, quoted as saying, as Clint Dempsey said on the Men in Blazers podcast, whether it was the Gold Cup, whether it was the Copa America, whether it was the Confederations Cup, whether it was on the World Cup, I wasn't going to miss any competitions. Dempsey did say, quote, "For me, I don't understand it because it wasn't my mentality. I just wanted to play in these games." Now with the U.S. men's national team struggling to get some of these top players to commit to playing for the squad, is it absurd or approved? The comments, have they been unwarranted from Donovan and also for Dempsey based off the U.S. men's national team's ineffective play and keeping their top players on as a whole?
Well, I think it comes down to a couple things, and I think one of those things is they have not been good for a long time. Probably when, Landon Donovan and some of those guys were on the team, they weren't, on the, level of some of these other teams that were in the World Cup and whatnot. Yeah, I think it is warranted. I think they really do need a kick in the ass. The main thing is that I don't know what has to be done in order to bring them to the level that they can compete with these other countries, but getting just destroyed by Switzerland. Maybe Switzerland's really good. I don't know. But it comes down to whether or not these guys have it in them to, really try and be great. And it seems to me, after getting just stomped by Switzerland, it just solidifies how bad they've been. And, what do they need to do? I don't know. The women's team has completely surpassed them on every level and whatnot. So it's disappointing, and, hopefully it's a wake-up call for some of these guys. But I think it is warranted. If they're like, we won't listen to outside noise, well, it's staring you right in the freaking face. You guys got to do something. I mean, you guys got to at least, give it your all here. I mean, this is USA, soccer, and I don't know how they can fix it. That's the main thing. So, it's got my stamp of approval, Voldy, with the comments. It really doesn't bug me. Per se, just because, it's just, they've been so bad for so long. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So, Voldy, what do you got?
You look at, with the World Cup coming to North America here, coming up here next year, you would like to think that one of the teams that is set to be hosting would be competitive on the international level. Now, for the U.S. men's national team, they haven't been competitive in probably the last 4 to 5 World Cups as a whole, since the days of Dempsey, Tim Howard, and, of course, Landon Donovan. I'm thinking all the way back to the 2010 World Cup held in South Africa, and, that just was probably the last significant moment you could see the U.S. men's national team make any sort of stride in overall just play on the team as a whole. Now, you've got some of these players playing internationally, of course, playing in Europe mostly, and the fact that they don't want to come back and play definitely hurts the overall morale, because when you look at it internationally, everybody's got much pride in their men's national team. Sure, there's probably a good amount of pride in the women's side as well, but the fact that the women for the national team for USA Soccer is outweighing the men's side, while the men continue to get paid more than the women do, is a little sad, to say the least. You would like to think there would be a little bit more pride for the U.S. men's national team, at least with a number of players that are fairly good, to say the least. If you can play in the Premier League, I would definitely think you are more than good enough to play for your own country. And the fact that they don't want to show up and play overall definitely hurts and definitely doesn't put us at the same level. Now, the comments from the greats themselves, I am 100% on board of it with my stamp of approval. I think there definitely needs to be something looked at and try to put this team, give them a little bit of a kick in the ass because of the fact that they're hosting the World Cup coming up here next year.
Yes.
And if they don't start getting things together, it's going to be an early bow out for the U.S. men's national team.
Well, and the thing is like if they want to, it's like, well, we don't listen to outside noise. Why aren't you talking to guys that have been in the position before and like have played for Team USA and try to incorporate some of that into your team? Don't be like, oh, this is a different team and everything. It's like, well, you can get some good insight from some of these guys. That's just me. I don't know. I'm not a big soccer person, but that's just my guess. I'm just trying to help out and whatnot, but, I don't know. They've just been bad for a long time. Long time. So we'll see if they can turn it around here. I hope they can. I really do. So, all right. Great job with Air A this week, Voldy, as always. Shield shoutouts. We've got some Shield shoutouts tonight, Father's Day. And a former Minnesotan is in retirement. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, of course, before with getting to the majority of Shield shoutouts, do want to wish all the fathers out there, whether part of the MinneZona family or not, a happy early Father's Day coming up on Sunday. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to wish your father a very happy Father's Day out there and spend time with him, whether he wants to go out, do whatever he does and be by himself, or wants to spend time with his family as a whole. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Now, we do want to wish best of luck in retirement to former War Road Warrior, UND Fighting Sioux legend, former St. Louis Blue, as I'm wearing his jersey, Washington Capitol, and Stanley Cup champion tjoshie, as he announces retirement on Monday in Washington as he finishes his career with 1,010 career games, many highlight reel goals, and, of course, who could forget the unforgettable 2014 Olympic shootout performance in Sochi, Russia, against the Russian team also. And that is going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Yes. Well, a legend in his own right, especially a Minnesota legend. Great guy, by the way, too. Happy early Father's Day. You're doing your fatherly duty right now, so claps up to you. Trying to. You're doing just fine. But yeah, I mean those are very important Shield shout-outs we got to. Well done, Voldy, as always. And guys, you know the deal. Voldy, we have these things that we promoted this past week. They are our 5-year anniversary hats. Voldy, do you have them right next to you? If you got them.
I mean, I've got a free hand right here.
Yeah,
this guy.
Let's go. Look at that.
Charcoal in the black. Yeah, that guy right there. And then I've also got it in the white here too with the gray. So those are available. I got 5 of each of those. But if you don't want one of the new ones, we still got a few of the older ones. I got one left of this guy, the Adidas branded one. I've got the Stars and Stripes, of course, with the 4th of July just around the corner. And, of course, the camouflage one, too, because you can't go wrong with either one of those. So I've got plenty of options right there. But, of course, 5th anniversary hats, brand spanking new here. So we definitely want to get them before they are gone because there aren't too many of them. Don't know how many more we're going to be getting of these. So definitely want to get them before they disappear.
It looks like Tate wants one. I'm not going to lie. He's looking like he wants one right now.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And again, guys, check them out. Let us know. We will get you set up for that as well. So we'll keep you up to date. Let us know. We've got a lot to go with that. So, but if you're like, I'm looking at some of the other stuff that you guys have. We've got sweatpants. We got shirts. We've got stickers, hats, the whole kit and caboodle, man. So if you guys want some of those things, we can happily send those out to you. We would be more than willing to do that for you as well. So let us know. We got Tumblers still that we can send off as well. So make sure you check it out. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler, Knutson as well. And then make sure you check out our guy, W2 Performance, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Let me tell you, Rattel's getting even more stronger by the day, I swear to God. Every time I see a new video, the guy's just yoked beyond anyone would ever see. I mean, he's just amazing. Make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers, they'll be getting started up. It's just right around the corner. Make sure you check those guys out. And, we'll be looking forward to talking with those guys soon. And make sure you check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr. Make sure you check out all his stuff on the socials. And make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne, Rhino, Myhrberg as well. Omni Entertainment, they've got weekly episodes. Make sure you check out all their stuff on all the latest movies. So, with that being said, that is going to do it for episode 243. Good news, Voldy. The hats, they're ready to roll. The 5-year anniversary hats, if you want some, we can get them to you. They are awesome. I cannot wait for you guys to start ordering and getting those because they're pretty cool. So, without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.